You've been told that age is the reason your energy has dipped, your drive has faded, and your mornings don't feel the same anymore, that your body is just slowing down. But what if that wasn't true? What if the real reason things have changed isn't your age? It's your toast? Yes, the simple slice of white bread you've been having with coffee for the last 20 years, or the sugary cereal that feels comforting but leaves you dragging by noon, or skipping breakfast altogether because you just don't feel hungry. These habits feel harmless, even efficient, but quietly they're choking off the blood flow that keeps you feeling like yourself, especially down there. Every week in my practice, I meet men who come in with the same story. They say, "Doc, I'm just not performing like I used to. I wake up tired, my legs feel heavy, and let's just say my confidence isn't what it used to be." They look at me with worry, wondering if they're broken, if this is just the price of getting older. But then I ask a simple question. What do you eat within an hour of waking up? And that's when the pattern starts to appear. The foods, or lack of food, they're choosing every morning are setting them up for poor circulation, low energy, and yes, reduced firmness where it matters most. Not because they're bad men, not because they're lazy, but because no one ever told them that breakfast is the most powerful and most overlooked tool for restoring blood flow, especially after 60. Let me tell you about Frank. He's 67, a retired mechanic, tough guy, proud grandfather of 5, but he came to me with his voice low and his eyes tired. "It's like I'm fading," he said. "I still love my wife, but I just don't feel present anymore." He was skipping breakfast most mornings, then grabbing a coffee and toast around 10 a.m., thinking he was being disciplined. But what he didn't know is that he was missing the single most important hour of the day for blood flow restoration. So here's the truth I've seen time and again. Most men over 60 are making the same 3 mistakes at breakfast, and they're quietly sabotaging their energy, their circulation, and their confidence in the most intimate parts of life. These mistakes don't show up all at once. They creep in. One day you're fine. The next day you're wondering why your legs feel heavy, your mornings feel dull, and your relationship feels a little distant. You think maybe it's stress. Maybe it's your age. But it's not. It's your routine. And the good news is, it's fixable. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through these 3 common breakfast traps. I'll show you why they cause real damage to your blood vessels, your pelvic circulation, and your masculine energy. And most importantly, I'll show you exactly what to do instead. These aren't radical diet overhauls or expensive supplements. These are simple, natural changes that can start turning things around in days, not months. So, if you've ever felt like your mornings are missing something, or if you've noticed your confidence slipping for reasons you can't explain, stick with me. You might discover that the most powerful solution isn't in a pill or a clinic. It's already in your kitchen. Let's begin. My name is Dr. Lily Anderson. I'm a clinical nutritionist and men's health specialist, and for over 25 years, I've worked with thousands of men navigating the second half of life, where strength, energy, and confidence don't just matter. They define your quality of living. I've helped men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s rebuild circulation, regain vitality, and reconnect with the parts of life they thought were slipping away, without medication, without judgment, and without extreme changes. And I want to tell you something that might sound strange coming from a health professional. I don't believe the answer lies in chasing your youth. I believe it lies in understanding your biology. Because when you truly understand how your body works, especially how it changes after 60, you can finally stop blaming age and start working with your body instead of against it. That's why I created this video, to clear up the confusion, to cut through the noise. Because while many men are being told to just eat better or exercise more, no one is telling them what really matters. How one single decision in the first hour of your day sets the tone for how your blood flows, especially to your legs, your pelvic floor, and yes, your manhood. This isn't about guilt. It's about giving you clarity, control, and confidence. So here's what I promise you. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which 3 breakfast habits are quietly hurting your circulation down there, and you'll learn how to replace each one with a smarter, science-backed upgrade that supports blood flow, boosts energy, and sets your body up for stronger mornings, not in theory, but in practice. With real-life tools you can start using tomorrow. And just to be clear, this is not a lecture. I'm not here to shame toast or cancel coffee. I'm here to give you a new way to look at the most important hour of your day. Because when you understand what's actually happening inside your arteries, your hormones, and your nervous system after 60, everything starts to make sense. And once it makes sense, you can change it. So let's break down these 3 common breakfast mistakes and show you what to do instead. Mistake number 1 is something I see almost every day in my practice, and it might be sitting on your plate right now. Let's talk about it. Mistake number 1, the empty carb bomb. White toast, sugary cereal, and the false energy fix. Let's start with the one that's most common and most quietly damaging. For many men, breakfast means speed. A quick slice of white toast with jam, maybe a bowl of sugary cereal you've been eating for decades. Something fast, familiar, and easy to swallow while reading the paper or flipping on the news. It feels innocent, comforting even. You've probably had it hundreds, if not thousands of times. But here's what most men don't realize. That fast-carb breakfast is creating a metabolic storm in your body, especially after the age of 60. When you eat highly processed carbohydrates like white bread or refined cereal first thing in the morning, without any protein, fiber, or healthy fats, your blood sugar spikes quickly. That's because these carbs break down almost instantly into glucose, flooding your bloodstream with sugar within minutes. Now, your body responds by dumping out a surge of insulin, trying to clean up the mess. But that insulin doesn't just clear sugar. It also suppresses your nitric oxide, the very compound your blood vessels need to relax and expand. And here's where it gets personal. Because when nitric oxide goes down, your blood flow suffers, especially in the areas that need it most for intimacy, strength, and stamina. Your pelvic arteries, which are already narrower and more vulnerable than the rest of your vascular system, become stiff and restricted. That means less blood reaches your groin, less oxygen fuels your tissues, and morning firmness becomes harder to maintain. And because your insulin levels stay high for hours, that sluggish circulation doesn't just last a few minutes. It lingers all morning. You might feel it as brain fog, low energy, tight legs, or just that quiet voice in your head saying, "I don't feel like myself today." It's not just about the toast. It's about the cascade of effects that starts with what you put on your fork the moment you wake up. Now, the good news is this. You don't need to give up breakfast. You just need to stop treating it like dessert. The solution? Build a circulation breakfast instead of a sugar bomb. Start with steel-cut oats, not instant. Steel-cut oats break down slower in your body, giving you a gradual release of glucose instead of a spike. Add a spoon of soaked chia seeds to slow digestion even further and support hydration. Sprinkle in cinnamon to help regulate blood sugar. And if you like a little crunch, top with a tablespoon of toasted walnuts or almonds. This simple combination does several powerful things all at once. It stabilizes your blood sugar. It supports your nitric oxide. It delivers magnesium and polyphenols to relax your arteries. And it keeps you full, so you don't go reaching for that second coffee or mid-morning snack that starts the cycle all over again. One of my patients, Jack, 66, was eating a bowl of frosted cereal with milk every morning, thinking it was healthy because it had a heart symbol on the box. But every day he felt more tired by 10 a.m., more irritable and more disconnected from his partner. After switching to the steel-cut oat bowl I just described, his energy stabilized. But more importantly, within 2 weeks, he noticed something he hadn't felt in months, a stronger response in the morning. His circulation wasn't just better, his confidence was coming back. So if you're starting your day with toast, pastries, or cereal in a box, take a step back. What feels like a harmless routine might be the very thing blocking blood flow from reaching the most important parts of your life. And if you're thinking, but I've done this for years, I understand. But here's the truth. Every day is a new chance to change direction, and sometimes all it takes is a different bowl. Now let's move to mistake number 2, one that seems harmless because it feels like discipline, but it's actually starving your arteries. Mistake number 2, drinking coffee on an empty stomach. For many men, coffee isn't just part of the morning. It is the morning. You wake up, shuffle to the kitchen, flip the switch, and wait for that first steaming mug. Maybe it's become part of your identity, your ritual, your comfort, the one thing that gets you going. And to be honest, I'm not here to take that away. But here's what I do want you to understand. Drinking coffee on an empty stomach, especially after 60, is one of the most overlooked threats to your circulation down there. Here's why. When you wake up, your body is already producing a surge of cortisol. That's your main stress hormone. It's part of the natural rhythm that helps you get out of bed, feel alert, and face the day. Now, when you drink coffee, especially without food, you double down on that cortisol surge. Caffeine doesn't just wake you up. It signals your adrenal glands to produce more cortisol, and in turn, your blood vessels constrict. And what happens when your blood vessels constrict? Blood flow slows, pressure builds. And the parts of your body that depend on strong, smooth, responsive arteries, like your brain, your heart, and yes, your pelvic region, get less of what they need. You might not notice it right away. Maybe you feel jittery by mid-morning, or your heart races slightly, or your fingers feel cold. But deep inside, your vascular system is operating in a stressed, constricted state. And that includes the delicate network of blood vessels that control firmness and performance. Now here's where it gets worse for men over 60. As we age, our bodies become less resilient to blood vessel stress. The inner lining of our arteries, called the endothelium, loses flexibility. Nitric oxide production declines. And every time you start your day by spiking cortisol and skipping fuel, you're reinforcing that tight, low-flow state. It's like trying to drive with the parking brake on. You're moving, but something's dragging behind you, something holding you back. One of my patients, Paul, 68, had this exact routine. Wake up, coffee news, no breakfast until noon. He called it intermittent fasting, but what he really meant was, I just don't feel hungry. He came to me complaining of sluggish mornings, low energy, cold feet, and what he called a slow response time with intimacy. I didn't ask him to give up his coffee. I just asked him to eat something first. He started simple. Half an avocado on a slice of sprouted grain toast, sometimes a hard-boiled egg, sometimes just a handful of almonds with blueberries. Then he had his coffee. The result? Within 2 weeks, his energy was steadier. Within 4, he said his mornings felt alive again. And within 6 weeks, he quietly told me, I don't need that little blue pill anymore, not every time. Why did it work? Because by feeding his body before caffeine, he buffered the cortisol spike. He gave his vessels nutrients, magnesium, potassium, healthy fats, to support relaxation and nitric oxide. He shifted his system from fight to flow. So here's the takeaway. Coffee isn't the enemy, but the timing of your coffee can be. If you love your morning cup, keep it, but protect your body first. Eat something within 30 minutes of waking. Ideally, something with fiber, healthy fats, and minerals. Then drink your coffee with calm blood vessels, not constricted ones. Remember, your circulatory system isn't just a plumbing network. It's a living, breathing, responsive highway. And if you start the day in tension mode, it will affect everything from your brain to your bedroom. Start soft. Start nourished. And let coffee be a companion, not a crutch. Mistake number 3, skipping or delaying breakfast, the missed nitric oxide window. Now let's talk about a mistake that feels harmless, maybe even healthy, but might be quietly starving your circulation where it matters most. skipping breakfast, or waiting until late morning to eat your first bite. I know what you might be thinking. I'm just not hungry in the morning. Or, I heard fasting is good for longevity. And yes, in some cases, strategic fasting can have benefits. But for men over 60, especially those struggling with energy, leg fatigue, or reduced intimacy, skipping or delaying breakfast can backfire in a way that very few people are talking about. Because here's the truth. The first hour after waking is a biological window that your blood vessels depend on. And when you skip that window, you miss your chance to support something critical: nitric oxide production. As we talked about earlier, nitric oxide, NO, is your body's master switch for circulation. It tells your arteries to open, your blood to flow, and your tissues to receive oxygen. But after 60, your natural NO production drops dramatically, up to 75% less than in your younger years. Now here's the part most people miss. Your nitric oxide system is most responsive to dietary input in the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking. That means if you feed your body the right compounds during this window, like nitrates, antioxidants, polyphenols, you activate your NO pathways more efficiently, leading to better blood flow throughout the day, especially to your pelvic floor. But if you wait, or skip entirely, that window closes. Your NO levels stay flat. Your blood vessels stay tight, and your energy, mood, and circulation suffer in silence. It's like having a sunrise for your arteries and pulling the shades shut. One of my patients, Gerald, 72, had a habit of delaying breakfast until almost noon. He said it helped him feel light in the mornings. But he also felt weak climbing stairs, had cold feet year-round, and told me, things just don't respond the way they used to. When we looked at his routine, I realized he was doing everything right, just too late. I asked him to make one change: eat within 45 minutes of waking, even something small. He started with a green smoothie: spinach, frozen blueberries, half a banana, chia seeds, and a splash of almond milk. That was it. 2 weeks later, he called me. I didn't expect this, he said. My legs feel lighter. I'm sleeping deeper. And I woke up this morning feeling like me again. Why? Because Gerald finally fed his nitric oxide window. He gave his vessels what they needed when they needed it. So what should you eat during this window? Think simple and supportive. A bowl of steel-cut oats with blueberries and chia, scrambled eggs with sautéed spinach and a slice of avocado, a small smoothie with nitrate-rich greens, a few nuts and berries. You don't need a feast. You need a signal that tells your arteries, it's time to open. A signal that reminds your body, we're still moving. A signal that helps you step into your day with strength, not stiffness. And if you're someone who truly doesn't feel hungry in the morning, start small. Even a spoonful of Greek yogurt, a handful of walnuts, a half cup of black beans warmed up with olive oil and garlic. Because remember, skipping breakfast isn't just skipping food, it's skipping blood flow. It's skipping performance. It's skipping presence. And the cost isn't just in your stomach, it's in your legs, your mood, your energy, and yes, your intimate life. So tomorrow morning, before you reach for your phone or check your emails, take care of the one thing that takes care of everything else, your circulation. Don't miss your morning window, because once it closes, it doesn't open again until the next day, and the next day might feel just like the one before it, unless you make it different. Let me tell you about Harold. Harold is 70 years old. He's a retired pharmacist, a proud grandfather of 3, and a man who spent most of his life taking care of others. But for the last few years, something quiet had been slipping away, and he couldn't explain it. It wasn't just physical, he told me. I felt like I was slowly disappearing, like I was watching myself fade from my own life. Harold wasn't overweight. He didn't smoke. His blood pressure was decent and his heart checked out fine. But every morning he woke up feeling foggy, heavy, and disconnected. His legs felt stiff, his hands cold. And what bothered him most, though he barely had the courage to say it, was the silence where there used to be connection. He and his wife had always been close, but lately he felt more like a roommate than a partner. "I thought maybe I was just getting old," he said. "Maybe this was normal." Still, something didn't sit right, so Harold came to see me. We talked about his lifestyle, his sleep, his stress, his habits, but what stood out most was his morning routine. Every day for the past 15 years, Harold started his day with black coffee. No food. He said it helped him stay sharp in the mornings. Around 10 a.m., he would grab a slice of toast or a banana, maybe a muffin at the cafe if he was feeling indulgent, then lunch around 1. It felt like a disciplined routine, light, efficient. But what Harold didn't realize was that he was missing the most critical window for supporting his circulation, the first 60 minutes after waking. When you're over 60, your nitric oxide production is already naturally lower. Your arteries are more prone to stiffness, and your body needs support, hydration, minerals, amino acids, slow-burning carbs, right away to start the vascular engine for the day. Instead, Harold was waking up, flooding his system with caffeine, constricting his vessels, skipping fuel, and sending his body into survival mode before he'd even eaten. We started small. I didn't ask him to give up his coffee. I just asked him to eat before it. He began his mornings with a small bowl of steel-cut oats topped with blueberries and soaked chia seeds, a pinch of cinnamon, a splash of almond milk. That was it. Sometimes he added a spoonful of black beans, sometimes a handful of toasted almonds. Nothing fancy, nothing complicated, just circulation-friendly food within an hour of waking. Within 1 week, Harold noticed something. His feet weren't as cold. By week 2, he was walking around the block without stopping halfway. His energy no longer crashed mid-morning, and by week 4, he sat across from me with a quiet smile and said something I'll never forget. "My wife looked at me last night and said, 'It's like you came back.'" Not because of a pill, not because of a radical program, but because Harold gave his body what it needed, when it needed it most. And it all started with breakfast. That's the power of working with your biology, not against it, of understanding that age isn't the enemy, neglect is. And sometimes the biggest transformations come from the smallest changes. Let's pull back the curtain for a moment, because once you understand what's really happening inside your body after 60, breakfast is no longer just the first meal of the day. It becomes something much bigger, a window of opportunity. Here's what I mean. Every night while you sleep, your body goes into a natural state of repair. Your blood vessels rest, your hormones recalibrate, your systems reset. But by morning, something interesting happens. Your levels of nitric oxide, the molecule that tells your blood vessels to open up, drop to some of their lowest points in the day. At the same time, your cortisol, the body's stress hormone, naturally begins to rise. This is part of your wake-up process, but cortisol does something else. It narrows blood vessels, constricts your arteries, and tells your body, be alert, conserve, protect. Now, if you're 30 years old, this process is smooth. Your nitric oxide bounces back fast, your arteries stay flexible. But after 60, things change. Your body doesn't make as much nitric oxide anymore. And your arteries. They become more sensitive to inflammation, more prone to stiffness, more likely to resist flow, especially in the smaller vessels around your pelvis. This is why many men over 60 wake up with cold feet, heavy legs, or no morning response down there. It's not because desire is gone. It's because blood flow isn't getting where it needs to go. Now imagine this. Your blood vessels are like flexible garden hoses. In your 30s, they're soft, elastic, ready to open up at a moment's notice. But after 60, they're more like older hoses, stiffer, more prone to kinks, less responsive when pressure builds. And nitric oxide? It's the signal that tells those hoses, relax, let the water flow. So what happens if you wake up, skip breakfast, and flood your system with caffeine? You're pouring gasoline on cortisol. You're constricting your vessels. You're sending the message, Hold on, not release. And what happens if you eat a sugary breakfast, like a muffin, jam toast, or boxed cereal? You spike your insulin. And insulin does something many men don't realize. It turns down your nitric oxide. This double hit, cortisol and insulin, can crush your vascular flexibility for hours. It's like trying to push water through a dry, brittle hose with a knot in the middle. That's why what you eat first thing in the morning matters so much. The right breakfast foods do 3 powerful things. First, they stabilize blood sugar. This keeps insulin in check so nitric oxide can rise naturally. Second, they deliver magnesium, polyphenols, and amino acids, like L-arginine and ALA, which directly support nitric oxide production. And third, they calm inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation is like rust on your blood vessels. Over time, it narrows your arteries and slows everything down. When you choose foods like black beans, steel-cut oats, chia seeds, blueberries, and green tea, you're feeding the very system responsible for performance, not just in the gym, but in the bedroom. Let's take L-arginine, for example. This amino acid is a key building block for nitric oxide. It's found in black beans, nuts, seeds, and oats. Once inside your body, L-arginine activates an enzyme called ENOS, endothelial nitric oxide synthase. This enzyme tells your blood vessels to open wide, allowing more oxygen-rich blood to flow through your arteries, especially to the pelvic region. Another example, anthocyanins, the deep pigments in blueberries. These don't just act as antioxidants. They directly protect nitric oxide from being broken down by oxidative stress. Think of them as bodyguards that keep your vascular signal strong and stable. And then there's magnesium, found in almonds and oats. Magnesium helps your smooth muscle tissue relax. That means less tension in your vessels, less resistance to flow, and more natural responsiveness when arousal occurs. This isn't theory, it's biology. Clinical studies have shown that men who eat a nitrate-rich, fiber-rich, polyphenol-rich breakfast have significantly better flow-mediated dilation. That's a fancy way of saying their arteries open more easily under pressure. In fact, even a 1% improvement in this function can lead to meaningful changes in energy, responsiveness, and overall confidence. So when you skip breakfast or choose sugar-loaded processed food or drink coffee on an empty stomach, you're not just making a bad diet choice. You're missing a once-a-day chance to turn your vascular engine back on. And when you make the right choice, even just once, you begin to send your body a new message. I'm still here. I still care. I still want to feel strong. And that message, your body listens. Every cell, every vessel, every heartbeat. So if you've ever wondered why your strength has faded, not just in your arms or legs, but in your presence, your connection, your confidence, it may not be aging. It may be your breakfast. But the good news? That's something you can change. You don't have to be perfect. That's the first thing I tell every man who sits across from me, whether he's 62 or 82. You don't have to follow a perfect diet. You don't have to reinvent your entire life. And you certainly don't have to do it all tomorrow. You just have to begin. And there's no better place to start than in the first hour of your day. See, what happens in that first hour sends a message. Not just to your metabolism, not just to your blood vessels, but to your identity. It's your way of saying, I'm not giving up. I'm still in this, and I still matter. And your body listens. Not long ago, I met a man named Richard. He was 73, a retired high school teacher, stoic, thoughtful, slow to speak. For years, he had ignored the signs: cold hands, heavy legs, shortness of breath, that quiet loss of connection with his wife. He told himself it was just part of aging. He told himself not to complain. But then, his grandson asked him to come play catch in the yard, and Richard couldn't make it past the front step without getting winded. He didn't say anything in that moment, but something shifted. He came to see me a week later, not to ask for medication, Not for some miracle pill, but to ask one question: where do I start? I told him the same thing I'm telling you now. Start with breakfast. Start by replacing the empty carbs with something that feeds your circulation. Start by eating something, anything, before that first cup of coffee. Start by adding a handful of blueberries, a scoop of black beans, a slice of avocado. Start by reclaiming your mornings. Richard chose one change, just one. He swapped his toast and butter for a bowl of oatmeal with almonds and chia. It didn't seem like much at first, but 2 weeks later he called me and said, "Doc, I made it through the whole game of catch." He didn't run a marathon, he didn't turn back time, but he showed up, and his body responded. That's what I want you to understand. Your body hasn't stopped working. It's just been waiting for you to give it what it needs, waiting for you to stop punishing it with restriction or ignoring it with neglect. You are not too old. You are not too far gone. And you are not broken. Your blood vessels still respond to nourishment. Your tissues still regenerate with the right fuel. And your strength, your real, deep, quiet strength, is still in there. But you have to give it a chance to return. And that begins with a fork, with a bowl, with a simple 5-minute act that says, I choose to care. Because caring isn't weakness, it's power. So tomorrow morning, before the news, before the emails, before the distractions, make yourself one real breakfast, one meal that loves you back. It might not feel like a revolution, but it is. It's a signal, a quiet one, but it reaches every corner of your body. And in time, you'll feel it in your legs, in your hands, in your smile. And yes, in the parts of your life you thought were gone. So don't wait until you feel ready. Start now. Even small roots, when fed each day, can grow into strength again. If you've made it this far, it means something. It means you care. It means you felt the quiet shift in your body, the way your legs feel heavier, your energy dips faster, and the mornings feel different. And it means, deep down, you still believe that something can change. And I'm here to tell you, you're right. Because the most powerful transformations don't begin with massive overhauls. They begin with awareness, with one better choice, with a quiet decision made in your kitchen, before the world has a chance to interrupt. So here's my invitation to you. Tomorrow morning, try just one thing from this video. Maybe it's skipping the toast and going for steel-cut oats. Maybe it's eating before coffee. Maybe it's adding a spoonful of chia seeds or a handful of blueberries. Whatever it is, make it small, simple, and consistent. Then, notice. Notice how your body feels. Notice if your hands are warmer. Notice if your energy holds longer. Notice if your confidence begins to return, not all at once, but piece by piece, breath by breath, morning by morning. And when it does, come back here. Tell us in the comments, I tried one change, and here's what happened. Or, if you're just starting, drop a 3 in the comments. 1 for each of the 3 mistakes we uncovered together. That tells me you saw yourself in this and that you're ready to begin. You might be surprised how many other men feel the same way. You're not alone in this. There's a whole community of us, fathers, grandfathers, husbands, partners, choosing to live the second half of life not with fear, but with fuel. And if this video gave you something, clarity, courage, or simply a better understanding of your body, then share it with a friend, a brother, a father, someone who might be stuck in the same quiet struggle you were in. You never know whose life you'll help shift just by passing it along. And if you'd like more tools like this, real, honest, science-based strategies for men over 60, subscribe. Every week we explore one new habit, one food, one shift that can bring your strength and circulation back online. Naturally, gently, powerfully. This isn't the end of your story. This is the next chapter. And it begins tomorrow, right at your breakfast table. Take care of yourself. You deserve to feel strong again, and I'll see you in the next video.